Hey everyone, welcome to Tech Down Over. I'm Rick Zanotti, and today we've got with us as co-host Harold Muliati. He's also running the switcher and the audio stuff. And we have a great guest with us today again. It's Ramon Trotman. He's coming to us from RT Perspective. He'll be on shortly. Let's run the intro.
Let's go.
And our apologies, Jeff couldn't make it today. He is actually stuck at work. Another IT operations guy stuck. We know how that feels. So, Jeff, have a good job today and tomorrow. He's working all weekend. And right there in the middle position of power, we missed him. It's been a long time since he's been on. Ramon Trotman's on. Hey, Ramon, how's it going?
Good. Hi, guys. Thanks for having me on again.
Oh, man, we've been trying to get you on for a while, but you've been busy.
Yeah, there's not enough hours in the day, days in the months, or months in the year. So,
It does feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
And but it's all good. It's all good. You've got a new job, wedding on the way, and all sorts of good stuff. And
yep.
and your RT Perspective account has a lot of new content too that you've been doing with your photos and video work and stuff. So so what's on your plate photo wise nowadays?
I mean, I think I got a few projects that I'm working on that I think the ultimate goal is to find my way into an exhibition.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to ramp up to the exhibition level of what can I say, depth. You know, I think when you talk about being in an exhibition, there has to be a cohesive theme to your images and a very strong one. So that's something that's fairly difficult as a street photographer, for me at least, to execute on. So I'm trying to tackle that overarching task in little projects to ramp up to one big one. So
But you're a good photographer, so you got that going with you already. Because I've seen your work, we've all seen the stuff you've done, and you do nice work. Street photography is not as easy as people think.
No, I mean, street photography, it's not easy, and for most people, I think it's not accessible. So living in New York gives me that opportunity as someone with a commute. It gives me that opportunity to practice time and time again.
Yeah.
And, great locations. And maybe if you missed a person in that perfect spot, there'll be another one in like 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So, I've been lucky to have a great place to practice the street photography for sure.
Yeah, you work in Manhattan, right?
Yes, with the new job, I'm actually in Greenpoint, in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, which is right next door to Williamsburg, along the waterfront. So that plays hand in hand with one of my projects. Super convenient for me. So
that sounds good. But you don't live in Brooklyn, right?
I do. I live in Coney
That's
Island.
what I thought. Okay, I was trying to remember. Was it Brooklyn or Bronx? Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah. How far is Greenpoint from where you live?
On the train, it takes me about an hour because it's like the train's super local all the way around. Or if I drive, it's probably like 50 minutes or so with traffic. Okay. So it's not bad.
That's not too bad, except in winter, right?
Yeah, in the winter. Well, I just started the position, I'd say, like a month and a half ago. So I haven't experienced winter yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, I miss New York. I grew up in Queens a long time ago, so it was fun. And I had to go to school on train. My last couple of years in New York, I was still in beginning of high school, and it was commuting train wise. I remember that it wasn't bad. Winter was a little tough because I had to go uphill. You could like go up and you're sliding down. So I remember those days. So when I tell my daughter, hey, when I went to school, it was a 50-mile jaunt. Uphill both ways. Oof. She goes, how'd you do that? Takes skill.
Not how you did it. You had to do it, so it got done.
Had to do it. Yeah, I think it was good. I think it makes you better. It makes you a little stronger, and it heartens you up a little bit because weather doesn't care who, what, or where you're coming from. It just says, hey, put up. And it was good. But I do miss, the ability to like shoot in New York because like you're right, you got it all over there. It's like the perfect place for street photography.
Seasons play a big role too.
Yeah.
Something that's on my to-do list for a long-term project is seasons. So I'm really trying to hammer down those locations and then start summer, fall, winter, spring, and sort of put that together. But yeah, the 4 seasons I think is a huge thing as a photographer.
And
Not
especially
everywhere
there,
gets
we
that.
actually have
privilege.
seasons.
Yeah.
So and you're shooting with a lot of cameras. I noticed looking at some of your work that you've got your Sony, I think it was an A7 III,
A7 II.
A7 II. You've got
Yeah.
Canon.
I've got the A7 II. I've got an XT, the Fuji XT2. I got
Oh,
an
yeah.
Olympus OMD-EM10 Mark
Yep.
II, and then I got like an older Canon T7. What is that? A T7 IV that I take out every now and then just to
Yeah.
challenge myself, remind myself that I shouldn't be spending money on gear because I can still get it done. So
That's
Yeah.
funny. Those are good cameras. And how do you like the X? Now I have an XT2, and for some odd reason, I love the colors. The colors on the Fuji are as good as Canon's. They're really, really warm and good, and it's sharp. And plus, they have those beautiful film effects that are just amazing what you come out with. But I have kind of a love-hate with the actual camera. I don't like the controls. To me, I don't like those kind of.
Yes.
It drives me crazy because I can't read them if I'm if in daylight. I can't see them on the screen because the screen's too bright, or too sunned out. And so I'm trying to figure out, where am I on this? Wait, my ISO is, oops, I've gone too far. You're constantly twiddling the knobs, and maybe people love that. It drives me crazy.
It's one of the things you either love it or hate it about Fuji.
Yep. Yep.
And
I've
besides
been
that,
able.
there's
Sorry, Harold. Go ahead.
the Fuji that we got over here. You had the issue where half of the screen was, and that took forever to.
I did. We had to finally get it fixed, and it was like $400 to fix it.
Basically, half of the screen just didn't work at all.
Yeah, half the screen just went garbled. That happened to me on a cell phone once. It was something similar. Half the screen was garbage, and they had to replace the whole motherboard for that. So,
Wow.
Actually, no, I didn't pay $400. That was covered. It would have been a $400 fix, but they covered it. So we were lucky. We still had the paperwork. But that was the first time that ever happened to me on a camera. And I suspect because the XT2 was so popular, they were cranking them out like there was no tomorrow. And I don't know how good their QA was, but in my case, I had issues. Unfortunately, they fixed it. So within about 3-4 weeks, we got it back and it was perfect. It's not a bad camera. I like it. And like I said, the picture quality is beautiful. They really do take nice pictures.
There's a lot about it that Fuji does on a software front. I think is super cool. But for me, Fuji really, it helped me to dial in a very what would you call it? A very intimate relationship with the camera.
Yeah, I could see that.
So the same thing you're complaining about, I think is on both sides of the spectrum. Either people hate it or they love it.
Yep.
I don't need to look at the camera because I know that tactile feedback.
Yes.
I know what 1, 2, or 3 stops is, but it's a lot of time out shooting with the camera to get into that groove.
Right.
And then I pick up my Sony and pick up the Fuji again and I forget it.
Oh, really?
So you got to kind of like relearn it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not super friendly in a if you're a photographer with many different cameras, Fuji's not one you're just going to pick up and
no, you're right. That's a really good point, because if you don't use it for a while, you've got to get back. Oh God, I got to feel this again. Where was I? And the Sonys were actually pretty easy to shoot. They're not too bad, and on the whole, they give pretty good results. The newer ones are doing pretty well. They haven't come up with anything new in almost a year and a half, so I'm wondering what's coming up. Well, they had the A7
I think I'm on the bandwagon for the next version.
They had the A6400, but that's not a major change. It was just one more camera.
Yeah, and it was, I don't know, there was a lot of puzzling things about the A6400. I mean, besides the name, was like, wait, is there not an A6500 on the market? So what am I supposed to do with this now?
Yeah.
But there's a lot about it that I think wasn't a true progress. It seems like a 0.5 of an iteration for something that's coming.
Yeah,
I know people have been rumored the A7000. I think it's what everyone's waiting for.
About a 7000. They're talking also about an A7S3. That's the big one, but they haven't done that yet, and it's been a year and a half now. They're talking about it. it might be, if I don't know. I don't know if they're holding off or waiting. Panasonic just came out with the S1 and the S1R, which again is a bit of a disruptor in the marketplace. So now Sony probably went, whoa, let's hold off and see what we do with this. And Canon with the EOS R has been okay. We got that one. We got that one pretty much when it came out. It's a good camera.
Yep.
It's sort of a love-hated
You guys use
time.
video or
it does video. It's okay. It has a big crop though, so there's a big crop in the video. So you have to use EFS lenses on it to get less of a crop. Like a 10 to 18, all of a sudden makes it not bad. It kind of winds up being almost at a 35 millimeter level, and it's not bad. It's okay, but it's funky. It's like they have these weird finger. It's
like
not a dial,
touchpad.
And it's weird. It doesn't, and it's not very tactile, and it doesn't work well. It's not there yet, and it's fun. I'd rather have a button for that, like they have on the normal Canon. So
yeah,
on a 1 to 10, I'd probably give it about a 6.5 to 7.
Oof.
Which isn't too bad. I mean, I've had 5s and 4s, but
the
it's not a 9 or 10.
Stiff.
They're not there. The color is great. The pictures are really good looking. The video isn't bad. You have to work at it a little bit, and it's a nice camera. The lenses they came out with are nice, but they're freaking expensive. So
this is something that a conversation I saw coming for a while. People were attacking Sony for the price of the glass, and I've attacked them as well because I'm upset. I just can't afford it.
It's a lot of money. So, yeah, they're expensive.
But then, when you kind of level the playing field, when everyone's got their A-mount platform, their full-frame platform out there now, and you really see what full-frame glass, mirrorless glass, looks like from Nikon and Canon, and now we've got this L Alliance going on.
Yep, which is even more expensive.
Sony is really in a competitive place.
They are.
And their glass is super, super high quality. One could argue better than what you get from Canon.
I had their 70 to 200 f 4.0 because I was reading a lot of reviews on the f 4.0 on Sony versus the 2.8. A lot of people say get the 4. The benefit on the 2.8 wasn't worth the extra grand.
Right.
And the 70 to 200, which was, I think we paid $1,400 for it. It was a darn good lens. I think it's as good, maybe better than the Canon 70 to 200, which is also a really good lens.
Yeah.
So I have the version 2 of that one, and it's good. I really love that lens, but the Sony was really, really nice. And for the price, they weren't any more expensive than anybody else and cheaper than some.
Yep.
So
that's,
I don't know, you're
that
right.
I find is interesting.
You're right. Now that everybody's come out, they made Sony look better. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Yeah. We used to
and
complain about that for 4 years. We were complaining about the price of Sony glass.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, well, what are you going to do? You go to the left, it's the same price. You go to the right, it's the same price. What are you going to do?
Have you seen the price of that L mount? I think the L mount Alliance is insane, but oh well. Those are expensive. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 for those Leica lenses. It's like, oof, man, and more. They're nice.
Maybe one day I'll get a Leica camera and then I'll conform and be like, oh, I get it. But until then, no, thank you.
I have one Leica lens, which is really a Panasonic lens designed by Leica, which is the Nocticron. It's a 1.2. Right? It's a Panasonic lens. It's a nice lens. Is it that much better? On Micro Four Thirds, yeah, it's pretty good. It does an incredible job. And even Olympus on Micro Four Thirds has some darn good lenses. I have one of those too. That's, I think, a 1.4. That's what is it? 12 to 18 or something like that, or 11 to 18. I don't know. It's just a really nice lens.
I think it's 11 to 18.
I think it's 11 to 18 or something like that. It just creates, without a fisheye effect, a really nice wide angle shot. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a $1,200 lens. It's not cheap, but boy, does it look good. Even it makes Micro Four Thirds look like full frame. You really can't tell much of a difference.
I'll tell you the secret with Olympus. I don't think a lot of people know. They make glass for like microscopes.
I know they do. Yeah, and telescopes.
They really, really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So their default glass is, just the affordable, like, entry level consumer to enthusiast glass. You're spending $500-600 is really, really good. Like best in class. Like if I could get somehow a Olympus micro four thirds step up on my full frame camera, I'd love to do it.
Interesting.
But I don't think, I think there's some issues there.
Yeah, they haven't, and they're not in that arena. They're only doing the micro four thirds right now, and
that's it.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. But they do. You're right. The glass they make is so sharp. You know what? Go ahead, Howard.
You shoot with an Olympus the EM10, right? What are your thoughts on that camera?
The EM10 is probably the camera I shoot with the most because it's the most pocketable. It stays in my bag. And I walk around. I have two primes I use. I have the 12 millimeter f2, and I use the 45 millimeter 1.8. And the camera and the other lens is often in my bag with no extra weight. You can't even tell it's there. So if I don't, my day-to-day carry, if I don't have intentions on shooting, but you just never know, the Olympus is always with me. So I get the most use out of it because of that, and I think that's the bread and butter of micro four thirds is the size and the weight. But
now, Ramon, you're a big guy. You've got probably big hands.
Yeah.
I had a problem. I bought one Olympus. It was the EM5, I think. I turned it back in within a day, and I was going, darn! It took beautiful pictures. I couldn't get my hands on it.
It's tough to hold.
It was tough to hold, and I've got big hands, and I'm 6'2", and 230 pounds or whatever. I couldn't get into where the grip was because the lens was blocking my fingers from getting in. And I went,
you gotta get used to it.
Yeah, is that really what it is? Because I loved it, but I said I can't keep it. I won't be able to shoot with it well.
Yeah, there's something to be said for. I started to do a little research on it, and I got lost in the nerddom. And I just like, all right, well, whatever. But there's something to be said for that crop factor and the density of a resolution.
Yeah.
Most times yields a sharper picture than something from an APS-C.
Yeah.
And it has to do with how that density is kind of like, like how Apple would always say, hi, we've got a 720 resolution Retina display. And then Samsung will say, yeah, well, we've got 4K. And then Apple comes back and says, yeah, well, that's cool, but it doesn't matter. Because technically we still have the better looking. It's kind of that same effect on the Olympus.
Yeah.
And it's the wildest thing. But most people will never be able to experience it because they spec shop. They look at the specs and go,
true. There is magic in the physics of micro four thirds. I've been shooting with the Panasonic GH5, the G9, and the GH5S, and I tell you, the pictures when you get them right look as good as full frame. And people go, "How can that be?" I go, "Physics, pure physics." But you don't have the size of a full frame. You're right, we don't, but it still works as well. And the ESR is a full frame sensor. It looks really good, but frankly, some of the micro four thirds look just as good. And
I think Joe Edelman is a great example of that. He switched everything to micro four thirds.
Did he totally?
And and his standing point is, I don't care because when I'm doing work for print, I lost no quality. And that goes as a photographer. I get why you want these high megapixel sensors. But, if you were to dial your composition in from the start with no intention to crop, then micro four thirds can be a real beast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I know people who are doing micro four thirds prints of, poster size, 24 by 36. And in fact, I did one. We did one poster here taken almost at night. It was pretty close to full night. 24 by 36. It's not pixelated.
24 by, oh wow.
24 inches by 36 inches on a microphone on the Panasonic G9, a 21 megapixel sensor, and it looks, I couldn't believe when we printed, it looks good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I've
Ramon,
only
do you
started.
mind
I'm
while
sorry.
we're talking if I show some of your pictures? Because I think I have some of yours here that you took with, for example, the Olympus and with some of the other cameras. Just so as
So
we're going,
let's look at them.
show
Okay,
people that
okay.
you know what you're talking about because you take some pretty good pictures. Like I think
Thank you, sir.
I think this one you took with the Olympus.
That was the Olympus.
That's-
Yes, that
Yeah,
was the
nice.
I
20
really like
mil.
this one. I
Yeah,
like the
that's a
sense
nice
of
shot.
perspective in that one.
Well, the 12 millimeter f2.
Is that the 12? Nice.
Yep. And this was really a testament to people who do portraits. They say you can't do portraits at wide angle, and you can do it.
Yeah.
It's all about making sure the subject is really in the center.
Mm-hmm.
And you see like her foot looks really large, her legs look really long. That was me using the distortion to my advantage. So she has a very present and powerful stature.
Yeah.
So I mean, portraits on long lenses. On wide lenses. It's a thing. It can get pretty.
How
dope.
far were you when you shot that? Did you have to get
I was
really
right up on
close?
her.
Or?
I was right up on her. I was maybe
Right up,
like a
yeah.
foot and a half away from her.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, I guess if you're not real close with a wide lens, you take a portrait and they're going to be.
Yeah. They get
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess it's
it
more.
took me a while.
Yeah, it's more about knowing what that's going to get you. Like it will come up with certain distortions, but you can use that to your advantage, right? Because
Exactly.
I think when people say the thing about portraits, a lot of times they're thinking maybe you're trying to get a headshot, and it ends up making someone look like they're half balloon.
So I'll tell you a story. The Dumbo area where I shoot a lot, it's super popular for like wedding photography, engagement photography, just bloggers running around doing whatever they do. And I'll see photographers with long lenses, and they, okay, that's fine. You're doing a portrait. You want something like a 50, a 75, or a 70 to 210, whatever, or 85.
Mm-hmm.
But I always see they don't take advantage of that lens. So yes, you can get amazing separation and you get that up close shot, but with a longer lens, if you were to back up, I'd say about 20, 30 yards and fill the frame with the subject, you get these really magical images where like the bridge and the skyline looks like it's literally 2 feet behind her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So your subject is now larger than life with the scene. And I just, I sit there, people watch, and wow, they got a good shot, but like, where are you going? You're not done. Walk back and get something else. Like, there's still more to this shot with that lens.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people really take the time to understand compression and perspective like they should. So
No, and a lot of the guys, it's funny, that shoot 70 to 200, they tend to shoot girls' soccer games and boys' soccer games. So they're used to just going and just shooting really fast. They don't frame all that much, and they're following somebody. So when you get them in more of a portrait mode or wedding, they're still thinking. And that's one thing I've noticed with some people, because I've talked to some of them on the fields and go, hey, what else do you do with that? He goes, I do weddings. Okay. And the weddings look like soccer games. It's just sort of funny.
Yeah.
It's just, it's to your point. They're not taking advantage of what the lens can do.
Yep. A lot of different things. I've even done, I haven't posted much of them yet because I'm still compiling the series, but I've been doing a lot of panorama shots with the 45, the Olympus. So it's about a 90 mil equivalent. Things look wildly different when you start to do things like that.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a crazy look. And I think to the keen eye amongst us, I've showed a few friends some of the images, and they go, there's something mesmerizing about this that I can't put my finger on.
Those can come.
I don't
really
tell them.
nice.
I'm just like,
Because I mean, especially when you're doing like architecture and stuff like that, where you get these, you get like kind of repeating patterns, and then if you do a panorama and then you use it to make, say, like a really, really tall image, you can get just this pattern that goes on for miles. I mean, some of the stuff I like from what you've posted. I mean, these aren't the panoramas, of course, but like some of your architectural stuff, I like. Have these. Let me show one of them.
You have some of them?
Yeah, you do these things where you get buildings at an angle where you have these kind of repeating patterns that just keep going and going. And I don't know, I always find there's something satisfying about that. There was another one.
This was with a Rokinon 8514.
Nice.
Nice.
And the goal of this was on my Sony. The point of this was I wanted to elongate. I wanted to accentuate the street to the right. I wanted the street to the right to be as long and as tall as the building itself.
You're right. That's a good effect. As you're saying that, I'm looking at it going, that's a really cool
looks
effect.
almost like it's standing up to meet the building.
It's right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now this is not shot with a tilt shift or anything like that. You're just shooting this tripod or hand. Were you hand holding?
Yeah, I was hand holding that
Hand-holding.
guy. There was plenty of light. It was actually like I want to say 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning.
Nice.
So it's a good light
But
there.
you know what I like about shots like this versus the new trend, which everybody wants to do, tilt shift, which is expensive as hell too, is this looks to me more natural. It looks more fun. It's like how our eyes see things. Our eyes don't see it perfectly straight; they see the angle.
Yeah,
and I like that. It gives it a different perspective.
Yeah, tilt shift is. I never played around with it.
I haven't either.
It's trippy to look at, though.
It is
Super trippy.
It's like you look up and go, it's a perfect line. Weird.
I feel like the tilt shift stuff, it makes everything look like it's a miniature, as if you're taking pictures inside a diorama or something because of that kind of orthographic. Yeah.
I think Lens Baby is making a new tilt shift lens. Did I read that right somewhere?
Interesting. Huh.
It's supposed to be affordable. So maybe I'll pick one. I thought it was somewhere in the 500 to 600.
That's better than 1,500 to 3,000.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it's a specific lens you're not going to use all the time.
Right. That's the type of lens where you need to know what your application is before you leave the house.
Yeah. If I ever had to do that, I'd probably just rent one just to see how it was and see how much. I don't even know how much it costs to rent one of those. They're probably expensive because they're not cheap lenses. I know Canon makes one that's real popular, but I want to say it's 1,500 to 3,000. It's not a cheap lens.
Wow, that's wild.
And it only runs on EF, so you have to have a full frame camera. So that's the other thing. Yeah, it's interesting. So what do you see as coming up? Do you see anything changing? I mean, we got full frames up the yin yang right now. We got more full frames than anybody knows what to do with.
Yeah.
I don't think there's enough market in the full frame cameras right now for the professionals. They're not going to buy that many of them. So what's next with the camera industry? Are we going to? People are saying Micro Four Thirds is dead because now I don't think so. Micro Four Thirds is really popular with a lot of people.
I'm looking really heavily at Olympus. Olympus is in a bad place right now. Panasonic jump
financially, they're in a bad place. Yeah,
we're going full frame everywhere. Full frame is becoming a lot more affordable. I think we're to the point where someone comes and says, "Yeah, I got $1,000 to spend on a camera." You can get them in a full frame. So the market
did you see
level
that $3,200 Olympus Micro Four? It looks beautiful.
Oh yeah.
That's a lot of money, but I bet you it's worth it.
All the reviews I've seen
are good.
It's a very pro camera. Very pro camera.
Yeah.
But I'm looking towards, as we look at what happens in the phone industry with computational photography. I'm looking toward the underdog, which is Olympus, who's being forced to innovate to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I don't see why they don't go out and buy, an ARM processor from a cell phone maker from 4 years ago for $10 and throw it in the camera.
Yeah.
If Google can make Google, Samsung, Huawei, they can turn an image in pure black into a usable image at night. There's no reason that my $2,000 camera shouldn't be able to do that. Right. And I think Olympus is in a position to get there first. And once they do it, full frame, APS-C, Micro Four Thirds, whatever medium format, there's like 20 of them now.
Right.
None of that matters once you start letting the computer do the heavy lifting.
That's true.
So I think I want to believe that's next, because there's things that you can do with your phone. Like, why walk with a camera?
Yeah, I think that the camera phone market has been kind of pushing some interesting technology. Like you said, there's the computational photography, and then there's also more exotic optics, sort of like I think Light with their cameras and phones are doing things similar to that, where they're having more exotic shaped lenses to fit them into different shapes and sizes.
Yeah. It's frustrating to see it happen or play out the way it is, because you've got the pure technologists innovating to make up for the lack of sensor size.
Yep.
And they're executing well. And then you've got a market over here, the true camera guys that are dying. It's like, guys, I'm not asking you to do what they're doing, just do a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, because if you look at the camera companies, one way or another, they're all competing against themselves, not their competitors. Canon constantly competes against itself, really stupidly. Nikon does a little bit of that, though. Nikon's got its own financial woes. They're like this side of going bankrupt. Olympus is actually pretty innovative, and they're, like you said, the lens technology is great, but they're not innovating, at least not fast enough. And Panasonic is innovating, sort of, but they're stuck on this. We will do no phase detection. Why?
Yeah.
Why don't you mix it like everyone? No, it's like it's like what do they call it? Death by defocus. Well, call it death by defocus at the rate you guys are going. Give it a break. It doesn't work well for everything, and they won't. And you got Leica saying, "We're German. This is going to cost $200,000 for a lens. Take it or leave it." And it's like, they're not doing that well. There's people buying them, but it's a very rarefied part of the market, because that's a lot of money. Who's going to afford it?
Leica is not a camera company. Leica is a lifestyle company.
Yeah, they are. You're right.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
If they could put a watch, if they could create a Leica watch that weighs 10 pounds,
exactly,
they would do it.
Just put that red dot in there. There we go. We're off to the races.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, that's so true. Well, Ramon, do we have any other pictures you want to show, Harold?
Let's see if were there any more. Well, yeah, I mean, I just thought it was, earlier you were talking about doing photography in the different seasons, and I'm interested to see what you'll come up with, because I think that you've done some pretty interesting stuff with color. Like, let's see, here was one I was looking at earlier. I liked this series where you had this guy in the flowers, and he's kind of like popping out. It's almost like it takes you a moment to see him sometimes, but he's definitely. Yeah.
This was an interesting. That's one of my close friends. So he's actually a photographer. He does a lot of event photography, and I actually taught him how to shoot. I gave him my original Canon Rebel, and he ran with it. He ran. You remember like the first digital gray DSLR?
I had one of those.
Oh my God, what a blast from the past! But he called me one day, and he's like, "I have this idea." I'm like, "All right, what you got?" He's like, you can tell he's got this illustrious beard, and he's like, "Oh, I want to put flowers in my beard." I'm like, "What? What you want to do? What?" He's like, "Yeah, put flowers in the beard." I'm like,
"Can you zoom in on him?"
All right, well, when give me a date. And he actually found this location. It took him like 2 months to find this location, and then, it wasn't enough to shoot with the backdrop. I said, "No, you got to get in those flowers." And they were, there were tons of bees around. And he's like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "No, you got to get in there. Like, if we're gonna do it, you need to be in that bush." So I was pretty happy with how it came out.
And the good thing is, bees don't normally bite. You can go right in between them; they don't care. They're usually
as
pretty
long
good.
as you're not doing a crazy amount of movement, they're okay.
They're okay. We've got them in our backyard. There's thousands of bees in our backyard, and one part of it. And it's that first time I went, and then I walk right by them. They don't care. They're too busy doing the. Now, if they're swarming, then you got to watch it, because you don't know what they're going to do at that point. But if they're just doing their jobs, they're easy. They're cool.
Yeah.
So Harold, you mentioned color. I've been Part of not shooting, I take the opportunity while I'm not shooting or not able to shoot. And I've been doing a lot of research on color and moods and how it affects moods and how to really manipulate it in, Photoshop and Lightroom, and really how to look at the tone curves, the different RGB levels, and then a lot of color grading and fading, and I'm still dialing in my ultimate look, because every time I arrive at a color grade, I think it's like, all right, this is it. Yeah. I'll scroll through Instagram and see someone else that looks similar. I'm like, oh, nope, not doing that. Because I'm struggling to find my look. Yeah. So color's a bit of an obsessive thing at this point. And the Fuji's, oddly enough, really helps.
They're good. Their color is good. I have to admit,
out of the camera, it's amazing.
I've got the XT2, and every so often when I take it out to shoot, the colors when it comes back, it's like, wow, that was beautiful. Yeah. They've got warmth down, and yet it's not a fake warmth. It's just they're capturing life, and they're really good at it. Man, but everybody says the XT3 is better. I haven't bought it. I'm because it's just like the XT2 kind of, and I go, I don't like the controls, but I'm looking at it going, man, that is a nice camera. They have some other ones too. Well, they have that medium format, but that's like $6-7 grand. So it's like, okay.
I thought about it, but there's a lot of compromise when going medium format.
There is, yeah. And you can't do anything that has a lot of movement many times because there's too many pixels in it.
Yeah.
So you were saying something earlier about Apple, and one thing funny about Apple saying we got a 720 this or that. The human eye can only see about 300 dots per inch, which is retina. Right. 300 pixels per inch. That's about all the human eye can see. So when they all say, I got 500, I got 400, I got 1,000, doesn't matter. The human eye can't see more. Yeah. And it's real interesting. That whole argument is totally nullified by science. No, 300 is about very few humans can probably see more than 300. And that's just hilarious because they're all arguing about something that really doesn't matter. But it sounds good for marketing.
We get caught up. We get pushed into this consumerism thing.
Yes, yeah.
You're like, no, I read the sticker on the side of the box and it says on the front of the camera, 48 megapixels. Yep. I'm getting a better picture here. Like, that's right. I used to get shamed. Like, we'd go out on like these photo walks with all these Instagrammers and I'd show up with the Olympus and they're just like, oh, you have an Olympus.
I mean,
what?
Especially when it comes.
I have the Sony too, but today I'm shooting Olympus. You know what? Yeah. Fine, this is going to competition now. Let's see who gets the best image.
Especially when we're talking Instagrammers and people that are going to be mostly posting most of the pictures online. I mean, when you put stuff online, you're not going to post these huge pictures.
It all looks like crap anyway. It's like, what are we arguing about here? I don't know.
It's funny. It's so true. It's so true. Well, it's funny. I've gone to photo stores, and I bought, for example, I don't know what it was at the time. It was some full frame thing, and the guy, he was a Canon guy, and he was such an arrogant son of a bitch. It's like, and at one point I said, you know what's interesting? I'm buying a camera you probably can't afford right now, so drop the attitude. And the guy's like turned like 300 shades of red. And it's like, don't be a dip. I mean, I'm putting a lot of money out for this, and I can barely afford it, but I'm buying it. And you know what? Do you have it? No. Okay, shut up then.
Yeah, shut up. Mind your business. Photographers.
It's like, don't tell me how stuck up you are. It's like, what's your problem? And I don't know why, but that happens a lot in photography. It's like, you're taking pictures, and some of them are beautiful, but what's with the attitude? I mean, geez, have a nice time. Enjoy yourself. Be friends with other people. I don't get it. It's like, and you're right. They got these. Let's compete. It's just funny.
It's toxic. The other day, I got this new program. What is it? It's called Portrait something, Portrait Plus, or I forgot the name of it. But I ran across it by chance watching some YouTube video, and this wedding guy's like, we deliver 6 sets of images a week.
Yeah.
To clients, so no one has time to sit there and do skin retouching and blah 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 blah. And he's like, I just use this program. It's from Anatrophics, I think is the name of the company. So it does a fair bit of AI work to detect the face and whatnot. and it's called Portrait Pro. And it does a lot of skin smoothing and makeup. You could do all of this crazy. I don't know. It's black magic. I don't know. Whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, let me test out this program. I'm like, I don't have any portraits. So I grab. The only thing that had a battery in it is my T4i, because we all know that DSLR batteries. I haven't charged that thing in like almost 5 years, and the battery's still at like 50%. That's also black magic. I don't know. So. It's the only thing with a battery. So I grab it. I'm like, all right, I know I've got a lens around here somewhere. It's like an old nifty 50 1.8 that I paid like $50 on Craigslist or something. So I grabbed that, and I'm like, all right, well, I know these images are going to be crap, so I just need something to test. I put the speed light on the thing, and I asked my lady to stand up against the wall. I shot the portraits, loaded them up in Lightroom. And I was totally shocked. Going back to the basics. Forget the megapixels, forget the sensors, forget your color biff and backlit sensor. None of that matters. This camera is dirt old. The basics, the only thing that matters in photography is light. And because I put that speed light on this old ass camera with this old lens that's beat up, I could not believe how sharp these images. I didn't even I just looked at it and was like, no way. And I just like turned the computer off and I don't want to. I can't. I don't want to comprehend this right now. Like, I've got thousands of dollars of lenses over here, and one of the cameras I started out with, like, I couldn't believe it. And I came back like 3 days later and was just sitting there like, wow. I have a hard time telling you that if I shot that on my Sony or my Panasonic or Olympus or
you know what's funny? We've been through that here where we are. Same thing. And you know those cheap nifty 50s, they work. And when you look at the image and if you've got the right light, they're awesome. And you go $50, $100, I got a nifty 50. Maybe it's not the best build, but hey, it works. You put it on, it still looks sharp. 1.8 is still a fast lens.
It's nuts.
And I've been using. We did a test the other day with the Sigma 50 millimeter, which is about close to $1,000, 900 something, against the L lens from Canon, which is that I think a little under $400.
Yeah, the 50 millimeter,
and it's a 1.4. They're both 1.4s. You'd be hard pressed to tell which lens was which. You can kind of tell, but you really have to look closely. Yeah. And it's 1,000 versus maybe 400. It doesn't matter how much they cost.
Whoa. So that's a YouTube lens. That's for some guy to take a picture of a poster at the other end of his room. And look how much sharper it is.
Yeah. For $400, you got a top-notch lens that's competing against $1,500 and more lenses.
And I guess, it's like you said, you give the camera the right light that it wants. Yeah, I mean, cameras love light, so you give them the right light, and they'll pull through for you.
It's amazing.
It's wild. Also, the settings. I used to do a lot of shooting in aperture priority mode, auto ISO, aperture priority, and just let the camera do whatever it does.
Yeah.
These days, I went back to manual because paying attention to settings, it annoys me a little bit. Some of my portraits wouldn't be as sharp as I would want them to, and it was just a matter of me going back to manual and making sure that my shutter speed was a constant 200. I don't care. I don't care what I'm doing. At least I know I'll capture this person super sharp. I've got enough of an ISO that I can raise it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and really, actually, a lot of people are terrified of manual. But once you get into it, you're only really tweaking 3 things for the most part. And once you get the hang of it, you're tweaking 1 or 2. Yeah. And you're right. Once you get that, you don't never want to go back to the autos because I got better control now. Hey, I can make my ISO. And you get effects just by changing your ISO, your shutter, or your aperture that you wouldn't get in auto. Yeah. So you're right.
That is a very good point. That one of my projects is I'm putting together a photography tutorial.
Nice.
I don't know how I'm going to do this. This is super nerve-wracking for me, but I got to figure it out. But I think it's all about how manual is introduced to people. It's I don't know. It's one of those things where when you get it, you're kind of like, how did I live without it? But people don't walk you through the process. People don't say, well, what's your intention here?
Right.
They just tell you, no, you got to shoot manual.
Yeah.
Well, how do I do that? There's like 3 different ways to compose an image in manual based on which setting comes first.
Mm-hmm.
Is it shutter first, right? If you're talking speed, or is it aperture first? You're talking separation, or is it ISO first? Are you sensitive to the amount of light? 3 different ways, and people who start to get into photography has no idea which is the right way to get what you want. So I've known people running around with $4,000 setups, and they can't get a proper image to save their life.
I knew a guy who had an $8,000 Canon. What was it called? It was the DX1 or something. It's the high end 1DX. It was the first 1D that came out.
That's the big guy.
$8,000. $8,000. He had a couple of not great lenses. They were okay. And the thing is, he used to say he was a big picture kind of guy. Yeah, but it was a small screen. So if you think you're big picture, but you're not, he had no eye for taking pictures. He had no understanding of shadowing and light. Yeah. So everything was always well lit, and it looked like boring. And one time I told, he said, "Hey, can you review these portraits for me?" And I said, "Yeah, she's very pretty, and she looks flat and boring." And he was like, "What do you mean?" He got really irritated at me, but I could have lied to him and said, "Hey, man, you're great." No, you gotta work with shadows. Without shadows, this is a boring picture. It says nothing. There's nothing to stimulate anything. There's no curiosity in the picture. It's wide open, boring. And
you're 1,000% correct.
And so I don't care how good your camera is. You got the biggest one in the room, but that doesn't mean you know how to use it.
Yep. And I stumbled on what you're talking about, shadows and depth in pictures. I started using a lot of high-speed sync flash now, off-camera flash, because I found out how bad I was at not frequency separation. What is the other one? Dodging and burning.
Dodging and burning, yeah.
I would sit there and do dodging and burning for I just suck at this. You know what? Let me get the flash and get it right, so I don't have to deal with this. Yeah. And that's how I figured out the flash. So I don't do dodge and burn anymore because the image already has a depth to it.
And when people first get flashes, here's another one. Like if you got like a Canon speed light or whatever speed light you have, and it can go up. Most people never go up. They want to shoot right at the person and totally make them, as whiter than white. You just can't see anything afterwards. Yeah. And you go, well, try bouncing it. What do you mean bouncing it? Yeah. Hey, point the speed light behind you and have it bounce at that person. And they're like, huh? And then when they do it, they go, wow, that's a different look.
Yeah, it goes over a lot of people's heads.
It does. And it's like immediately the first, I got $500 and I just bought a big speed light. Yeah, how do you shoot with it? I point it right at the person and hit them.
And I almost think that, for learning, starting with really expensive cameras and equipment can actually be an impediment because you're worrying about them. Yeah. Like I think I learned the most about taking pictures and how to use manual mode and all the ins and outs and stuff with this little Canon power shot that fit in my pocket, but it had manual mode and it had a zoom lens that it was equivalent like 36 to 360 millimeters, so it gave a wide range. I could do macro on it. I could do telephoto. I mean, granted, all the photos came out a little grainy because the sensor on it wasn't very good, but it
actually
did what it
don't say that. Don't say I have a. I'm sorry, I said I got a lot of projects on my list. I have a power shot here. It's a G150 or I don't know, one of these old power shots.
Probably the 15 G15, probably.
Yeah,
it's in the drawer. I found a battery for it, so I put down and I was playing with it one day. I was like, "Holy, this is actually a decent camera."
It's a mini DSLR.
They give you quite a bit of feature in there.
I think that had a half-inch or more sensor too, or maybe an inch sensor. It was big enough.
So I added some. I was playing around with one of my toys I got around here. I added some constant light, and I put the thing on a tripod, and I just. Stabilization wasn't a thing back then, so I put it on a countdown, and the image came out pretty nice. So now I want to do a series with that camera.
Yeah, the thing with the power shots is you got to keep the ISO really low because
Yeah.
they are sensitive.
Yeah.
Well, at least the one that the one I used was, I think, the SX110.
That was the smaller than the power. They had the other power shot, which was like a mini brick.
Yeah.
That was
It was
the
like a credit
G9,
card kind of- yeah.
G9,
I remember
G12, G14, 16, whatever. They don't make them anymore. At least not like they did, which is kind of a shame. But they have like the, what's it called, G2 or something, GL2. And they're still pretty good, but I actually played with one at Best Buy the other day, and it actually looked nice, but the controls were funky, and that's why I was almost going to get it, and I said, no, everything was in kind of, again, it was small with weird controls, and I said, no, I'll skip it. My wife thought I was going to buy it. I go, no, I'm going to skip. She goes, you're skipping a camera? Yeah, I'm growing up. I'm actually skipping cameras now. You know, the Panasonic S1 came out. I go, I'm going to get it. No, I'm not. I don't want to spend $3,200 on it. It's like, I'm done. I'm not going crazy anymore on
You
cameras.
guys probably do need it, though. You talking about that 10-bit video and all of that
Maybe,
madness.
Yeah.
I don't care. I just want to get the video on YouTube. 10-bit,
That's right.
8-bit,
Yep.
1-bit. I don't care.
And then, yeah, we never shoot 10-bit, and frankly, nobody does unless they're doing cinema.
Right.
Because then you got to convert it to 8-bit to go on YouTube. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I saw a documentary the other day about Hollywood, and they don't even shoot. They may shoot 10-bit, but they don't shoot 4K because it's crazy expensive.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then with the CGI, and they're like, okay, no thanks to this. So all the 4K content you buy, these DVDs, they're all upscaled anyway.
That's right.
And then YouTubers are like 4K, 6K, 8K,
Yeah.
like
They don't get it.
whatever.
I mean,
yeah.
no one cares.
When you've got your video production has like a long pipeline with a lot of steps, then 4K is going to take longer at every step to
Yeah.
process. So.
Yeah.
And now
And
you got to
4K is
charge the
nice.
customer like
And it's nice for
20%
editing, but
more.
frankly, like you said, you don't really need 4K. And
No.
and you need a faster computer when you do 4K. You need all this kind of stuff. So anyway.
Yep.
Well, we are way past the end of our time, but that's okay. We're having a good time.
Yeah.
We do these for 30-minute shows. We can't do that with you. We're having too good a time, Ramon. This is fun.
I feel like we've only covered a quarter of
I
what
know we could
have,
keep
but,
going for a long time, but you got a wedding to go to, so
I
we don't want to keep you from that one. Don't do it. I'm just joking.
Don't run. Oh man.
Nah, tell your future. I'm just joking. Like I said, 35 years. It works. So
That's beautiful. 35 years is
35
a
years.
milestone. That is a
it
commitment.
works. Yeah. And
Are you married, Harold?
I'm not, no.
Ah, okay.
He's saying don't do it.
Someone's left. There you go.
But he's young. He's only
Pass the torch to
27.
You 27? All right, you got 2 more years.
Then it's over. Yeah. Hey, Ramon, appreciate you coming on again. Let's keep in touch, and let's have you back on again when you have some time. And we'll keep pushing your stuff too. And as we see stuff, we'll retweet, not retweet, but we'll share the stuff we see from you. You do good work, and
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
and it's fun talking with you and sharing, because we're all in the same boat. I think
Yeah.
we're all learning the same things and kind of coming to the same stuff. I've gotten tired of a lot of the YouTubers and the constant, they criticize everything. Nothing makes them happy. It's like, you know what?
No one's
Get a
ever
life.
happy.
Get a life. Be happy. Just, hey,
No one's
you got the biggest lens in the world. I'm glad. You go to sleep with it? I mean, what do you do with it?
It doesn't matter.
You can't use them
Your
all
guy
the
is
time.
blowing up, though. Your recommendation, Camera Conspiracies. Remember you told me about him last time. I've been watching him. Remember the Camera Conspiracy guy?
He's gone a little odd.
He's blowing up.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's like, Halawan is the perfect camera.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went back to
he's
Canada.
pretty
He
funny.
left Thailand. He's back home. I don't know. Some of it's funny when he does the boardrooms for the Canons.
I love the
and
boardrooms,
those
yeah.
are funny, the Sony boardrooms. But other than that, I don't know. He gets a little odd. He has done some funny ones though.
Yeah, he got the momentum, so he's got to keep trying new things, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, Ramon, hey, it's been a great pleasure having you back on again. If you're watching and you want to get in touch with Ramon, we'll have information below on his site, and you can take a look at all the great work he does.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week on Tech Down Over. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks, Ramon.
Bye.
And it's a wrap.